Hey, Susie.
Hi, Brad.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Well, I'm good. I talked to our friend Jana yesterday.
Oh, yes.
I called her for something else, but she was telling me about what you guys were going through.
Yes. I mean, it has been, and in all fairness, I mean, they are 100% right on the whole situation. So,
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah,
Y'all got a
I,
survey, right?
we did get a survey.
Okay.
So, we did get a survey, and title approved it, and so did the lender, and it was the original. So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, well, we'll see.
yeah, crossing fingers. The seller said he's signing off on everything. So,
Oh,
I
good.
just got that news probably this morning.
Okay. Oh, good. Good. Oh, cool. Well, we will wait another minute and then we'll start. Let me share my screen, you guys. And let's see. Oops. All right. I'm going to give it another minute for other folks to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody. Today, I want to do a little bit of training on delivering a positive customer experience. And let me start by saying this. So many of you may or may not know that before real estate, I had a very long career in the hotel business. And whether it's hotels, restaurants, which we probably all worked in them all, they place a high level of importance on delivering customer service, right? We always hear that term, high level of customer service. And I think that, and so I've tried to carry that over into the brokerage and really instill in everyone that we're not just selling houses, we're actually selling ourselves. And, we're trying to create an environment where people feel good about the experience. And so I think that even before the current situation of the market, I think that the general public kind of viewed us as very transactional centric, right? And that we really didn't care a whole lot about delivering customer experience. And this is the customer perception. I think that they think that it's just all about getting the commission. And so what has made matters worse, as if that wasn't bad enough, is that because homes are selling so quickly, it kind of has turned into that. And so there is not a whole lot of time to create a customer experience given the fast pace that homes are flying off the market. And so what I wanted to do today is kind of explain a little bit about how I view customer service and how I think that should apply to us as realtors. And so the first slide here kind of says it all. I mean, customer service versus a customer experience. And I think there is a difference. And so, two of our core office values are these. I mean, be relational versus transactional, right? So it's not just about turning over transactions. I think Maya Angelou was credited with saying it's not about how what you say or what you do. It's how you make people feel. That's what they're going to remember you by. And I do think that is true in a real estate transaction. It's usually the beginning and the end. In the beginning, they're excited about looking for a home. Nothing can possibly go wrong. They're in the honeymoon stage, and that's when emotions are favorable mutually. Well, then they get into that transaction and things do go wrong, and there might be some friction. But at the end of the day, you end up closing that transaction, and you theoretically leave them on a high, feeling very good. They've just purchased this home. Life is really good. And so if you ever want the secret to getting a good review, it's make sure you leave them with a really good impression. But the second of our core values is to deliver world-class customer service, and really that should be customer experience. Okay, and so it's not just about this laundry list of rules and things that you're going to do. It's being able to provide them a well-rounded customer experience. And so, and this is from NAR, 19% of people will actually pay for a better customer experience. Okay, and really all of our core values center around delivering a customer experience. And so everything that we do in real estate is really a process or a system, and I mean everything. And so each of us, as we take on clients, should have a baseline level of things that will always do for them, and conversely, some things that will never do for them. And so I think that it's really all about being proactive, then reacting, and then tweaking the process. And so what I mean is that as human beings that are in a service-driven industry, that of real estate, I think that we're all kind of equipped with how to treat each other, right? And so that's the proactive piece that I'm talking about. It's be considerate of their time, treat them with respect. It's all those types of things. And then once we meet them, we get a sense of what their personality is, and sometimes we have to react or kind of counterbalance who they are and how they approach the process, and then be able to tweak as things go on. So maybe a family of 4 is looking for a home, and you've shown the husband and wife a couple of homes at first, and then maybe on their next go round, the kids join. And so what does that mean? What do you do in terms of customer experience once the kids join the equation? And so listen and observe your clients. They're giving off cues all the time, not just verbal, but nonverbal cues as well. And then think of a complaint as a gift. And so it is always going to be something you didn't know that needed to be addressed. I think we're all guilty of that. We just kind of go about our lives and go about a transaction in a way that we think is going just fine, until someone tells us that it isn't. Maybe it's perfectly fine for you to get back with someone within 24 hours, but a particular client complains and says, you know what, you really should have told me that sooner. And so that should be a cue that you need to deliver that news sooner. That's just one example. So let's go through some examples of non-real estate related customer experiences that we all have likely been through. So take good old-fashioned Walmart. So Walmart makes no apologies for their customer experience, because there is none. If you go into Walmart, it's just one cut above going into a warehouse. Now, I am a frequent Walmart shopper, as I'm sure y'all are, but let's just call it what it is. They are not going for a warm and fuzzy, rich colors, come in and sip champagne while you shop type of experience. That's just not what their model is. Their tagline used to be the lowest price always, until they couldn't live up to that anymore, and it's something slightly different. But you think of the colors that you see when you walk into Walmart. Think of the lighting when you go into Walmart. They're all the same, which is awesome. So they check the box for consistency, but there's not a whole lot of sensory positive experience going on when you go into a Walmart. The next is a story I'll tell you at an Embassy Suites locally that my wife worked at. So it's an older Embassy Suites. It's about 40 years old now. And ownership never put a whole lot of money into it. And so they had just a laundry list of problems going on all the time, now, which is a shame because Embassy Suites as a brand actually does provide a very good customer experience. They have a couple of free drinks in the afternoon. They have the free breakfast. The room itself is a great experience. It's usually larger. It's a suite, got a kitchenette in there, and it's a great place to stay. But in this particular case, it was older, not a lot of money put into it for a while, and they had an AC problem. And they would get complaints on the AC all the time. And the complaints were so frequent that the staff almost became used to it, used to the fact that AC was an issue. And so their answer to their AC issues whenever a guest called them or approached the desk was, well, there's a box fan in your closet, and that's what that's there for. So if you have issues with the AC or it's not getting quite cool enough, there's your solution. So not a whole lot of emphasis there placed on the customer experience at that particular location, which is a shame because again, the brand in general is actually a pretty good brand. And so next example is as you're driving down the highway, you typically will see a sign that looks like this. And it tells you at the next exit where various restaurants are. And so this is just customer service, the fact that the sign exists. However, a customer experience might be this. There's arrows pointing to where those restaurants are, and it tells you from where you are, how long it takes to get to that destination. Okay. Even Uber is getting into the act of delivering a customer experience. I have been in lots of Ubers. Most of them have a variation of what you see here, which is a nice little kind of knapsack type of deal on the back of the driver's seat. And you as a passenger can enjoy some ice cold water, looks like some, moist towelettes type of deal, and maybe something to eat if I'm looking closely enough, and some Kleenex, right? So this, I mean, an Uber ride is a cut above a taxi, but not really a whole lot until you add some of these things. It's still transportation. It still gets you from point A to point B, but even some of these Uber drivers are adding on some niceties to make you have an actual experience while getting from point A to point B. Next is Chick-fil-A. So I don't know how Chick-fil-A does it, but every experience that I have had, the food is always consistent. It's always very quick to come out. It's rarely wrong. The order is rarely wrong, and they're always fully staffed. And the people that they have staffed always are so friendly and just go out of their way to create a very positive customer experience. And so, their big tagline is whatever you say thank you. They always say it's my pleasure. And so just what they've told the associates to say creates a different experience than any other drive-through that you'll ever go through. And so I think that's just amazing. And so the last is Amazon. And so Amazon, say what you want, but first of all, you can get anything at Amazon. Second of all, the delivery time, at least pre-pandemic, if you had Prime, was laser fast. In some cases, they're delivering same day. Luckily, if you live in Texas or one of the 4 major cities, you have a couple of distribution centers, and so you're getting your stuff quick, right? But Amazon also is all about putting the customer first. And when Amazon was like one of the first websites ever out there back in the mid 90s, and they just used to sell books. And so now they're who they are today, right? They sell everything. And so you all may, I'm sure, have had an experience with Amazon. If you've had a refund experience with Amazon, there is no other company like it. you don't have to do anything except say, I want a refund or return the merchandise and the money is back in your account. It used to be where they had to receive the item before they put the money back into your account, and that's not really the case so much anymore. And so that keeps you coming back. That creates a good customer experience, not to mention how you navigate around the website, which is, if you bought this, you might like this. Customers that bought this also bought this. And so because we're in a world where there's just so much choice, that creates a very positive customer experience. And so those are examples of non-real estate related industries. Let's talk about realtors. So when are we usually not delivering an experience? I think that in my mind, it's when we don't know the client real well. We don't know the client's needs real well. We don't ask what those needs are. And we're just rushing around in a very kind of matter of fact, get the job done, check the box off kind of mentality. Okay. And so, I think that no communication or responsiveness creates a negative customer experience amongst realtors. And this is very common, as I'm sure you're encountering. There's no level of urgency, right? Or no level of intensity. I think that whether they're buying or selling, your clients want to know that, yes is the answer. What's the question? What is the next thing we have to be doing? Taking the easy way out, in showing homes and listing homes, whatever the case may be. When you're doing the minimum amount of work, I don't think that's delivering good customer experience. Allowing the client to do all the work. So there's no getting around that. They usually start their home search online, but really that's all they should be doing. Everything else should be done by you. That's kind of how we prove our value. But if they're having to do stuff that you normally would do, they could argue, why am I hiring you to do it? All right. This is a big cardinal sin amongst real estate agents, being asked a question or being asked to do something that you should have already done or known. And so, unless your client is just hyper impatient, you got to remember that we're living in a world of instant responsiveness. And there is no more sinking feeling personally than when a client reaches out and asks me a question that I either told them I was going to get them an answer to, or I should have known, or that they've already asked me to do. And so maybe it was I needed to deliver a survey to a person, and I just said kind of casually, because I knew I was going to do it, oh yeah, I'll get that for you. And then they reach out 3 days later, because you still haven't gotten it to them, and said, hey, what about that survey? That's an indication that they're getting impatient, and you should have delivered that when you said. And then you're just not knowledgeable about the area or the processes involved, right? So that's not delivering a real good customer experience. All right, so I think that it's all about expectations with regards to what we can control as real estate agents in delivering a positive customer experience. And so people always want to know what's going to happen before it happens, right? Not as it's happening. Okay, now, whether you've done one transaction or 101 transactions, if you've done one, or even if you've done none, but you've, maybe done our 4-week training, or enough to know better, as an example, you should know the process of what should be happening and what happens next. And so it really, unnerves clients not to know what's going to happen next. And it's even worse to find out, as it's happening. I mean, you should be prepared to tell them. So, so we have this on our website. So I've created 3 sheets of paper to include in either any buyer presentation or any listing presentation. And it goes about explaining what's going to happen in this process, what could happen, and what are your frequently asked questions. And so, so there's a sheet for FAQs, and then there's a sheet for what will most likely happen? So buyers, assume you're going to be recorded when you show up to a home. You will drive up to a home and not want to go in just because of the neighborhood. And then thirdly, no one lives like you, expect clutter and weird furniture. Those are actually in there. And so if you're a first-time home buyer, you might not know that. And so that, and all of us that have had those challenges know that when a buyer goes into a home that's not theirs because they haven't bought it yet, they're walking into somebody's world. And so a lot of buyers cross off the list homes that just have different furniture than they have in there, or some other aspect of the home. And so that's why these kinds of questions are out there. And so the other sheet is what not to do. And I've used sellers in this example. And an example might be do not decline showings. If a home is under contract, do not exercise your home equity line of credit. Don't be difficult in that process. Don't make it difficult to see your home. Okay, so here are my recommendations for, as a realtor, delivering a positive customer experience. So have snacks and drinks for buyers, even if they refuse them. All right, so it's about to get really hot, so be mindful of what those are. But I would have something that makes them feel better about their day, because in the buying market, it is a beatdown, as we know. And so all the better to find out what their favorite drink is. Maybe it's just water, maybe it's Dr. Pepper, maybe it's Snapple. I have no idea. But what impact do you think that would make if you knew what that was and had that ready for them when they went to show homes with you? Meet someplace professional, offer them something to drink. So, I've mentioned earlier, since we are a virtual office, maybe a lender office or a title company, someplace where you can have a meaningful professional conversation. And then be on time and be responsive, right? Make sure the minute you acquire a client, get their contact information, their phone, add their contact into your phone so you know that it's them when they call. Okay, use presentation folders. So I have some of these. You can get them at Vistaprint. Just put our logo on there or whatever you want on there. But I think that's important for both buyers and sellers because it gives them a central place to keep all of their stuff too, right? And so whether you're doing a buyer presentation or a listing presentation, that folder should go with them so that they can use that during their journey with you. Okay, and it just makes for a better, more professional presentation. All right, use the cloud CMA versus that one pager, the quick CMA. Now, that's going to be situational. If you're doing a listing presentation, I would always use the cloud CMA version. It's just a better looking presentation. Use your own judgment, but obviously that cloud CMA or just the CMA option in the MLS presents a better presentation. So, right, write follow-up notes always, right? So, in other words, a handwritten note to them. That's very professional, and it adds that personal touch. If they do have kids or pets, bring something for them. Over-deliver on your promises. And then disposable washcloths for when it's hot. When it's 100 out in Texas, it's 130 inside your car. And so if you're driving to different places to go see homes, it's a beatdown, for everyone involved. And so, have some kind of disposable washcloth with you, so that they can cool off. And then recap of homes that they viewed. You can do a video for them. But just go the extra mile. You're going to see lots of homes if you're touring buyers around. Sometimes it's very difficult to keep them all straight. And so, what will get a sale quicker, because unless they're taking notes and unless they're videoing, they're going to forget what they like and what they don't like about that home. So that's really our job, to make sure we summarize what they said when they toured this particular home, in case they forget. Right. And then there has been some research done on the type of business cards that you present to your clients. Now, business cards can range from, $20 to $220, arguably, right? And so when you think about a business card, when you give that to somebody, they're using their sense of touch and their sense of sight. And so they have found that cards with rounded corners and then have that kind of soft, almost suede feel to them, actually provide a better customer experience for the person that you're giving it to. Now, those are obviously going to be a little bit more expensive, but I think it's a good investment because it creates a memorable experience as well for the customer. And then remember, I mean, this whole experience, it's a country club, it's not Sam's Club, right? I mean, you guys should not consider yourself as discount realtors. You're still representing people in the largest transaction of their lives typically. And, I think with that comes a certain expectation of a customer experience. Okay. So, so Susie mentioned I put lavender on wet washcloths in a small ice cooler. I know, a little dorky, but cool. Not dorky at all. That's actually cool. So I mentioned my hotel experience earlier. I worked for Omni Hotels for about 6 or 7 years, and it was during a time where them and every other industry was jumping on the bandwagon of creating a sensory experience. And if you've ever been to Las Vegas, all you need to do is go into any one of those hotels to see what I mean. Every one of these guys has their own experience they're trying to leave you with. Not just like every Las Vegas hotel has their own theme, right? So they have this little display of something or something going on in front of the hotel, like the Bellagio has the water fountains that you've seen in movies, I'm quite sure. The Wynn has this pond where these holograms come out of the pond, and every hotel has their own unique thing. But aside from that, when you go in, every hotel smells differently and has different visual aesthetics and various things that you'll experience throughout the hotel. So I'm mentioning that because when you think of the 5 senses, you should be trying to apply a certain aspect of those into all of your interactions. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's only because Susie just mentioned that she just doesn't provide washcloths, she provides lavender scented washcloths. And so there is a difference. It's good enough to just supply them, but I'm just guessing how many people walk away and say, oh my gosh, those smell so good. It's the same deal where, you go into a spa and it smells like eucalyptus, right? I mean, they don't have to do that, but just creates a better sensory experience. And so, if you're expecting an $8, $9, $10, $12,000 commission, I'd be spending a little money on that stuff. So my final thoughts. So ask yourself, what are your habits? What are you doing on a regular basis to create this customer experience with your buyers and sellers? Okay. Can you adjust your strategy in real time? It could be the difference between winning and losing. And like so many realtors, they think it's more important to be right than do the right thing. And so we are in a profession where we have to compromise. And so whether, the other agent is right or not, it's usually inconsequential. Just make sure that you do the right thing and collaborate and compromise always. All right, be proactive versus reactive. Anticipate a need on behalf of your client and fulfill it. Always assume that they're going to be hyper stressed out. So, I think that's an easy one to address. And then how sharp is your axe? The axe being all of your education in real estate? How sharp is it? How well versed are you in contracts? How well versed are you in the geographical area that you're working in? All right. It might be a cause to get a little bit more education. So my parting words is, real estate is simple, but it's not easy. And so it's okay to be discouraged and overwhelmed, especially in this market. You can never predict where the next lead comes from. So you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. As bad as it is, count your blessings. You have more than most. And then keep going. I mean, lesser people have won at this game. You already jumped the hurdle of getting your license. It just becomes a question of what are you doing with it, right? So just keep pushing. And there is usually no traffic in the extra mile. Okay. All right. And Kay says, many people love fragrances, but please use caution. Others are highly allergic. Good point. Like I am, and they can also cause asthma flare-ups in some. I have to be careful what stores. Oh, yeah, good point. I think that's similar to a lot of people like to give alcohol as gifts, and you never know who who you might be giving that to. And so I agree with you. Just be sensitive to what you're giving people. So that kind of concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any experiences or comments about anything that they've done that has created a great customer experience? You'll have to unmute.
Hey, Brad. One thing that I do with all of my, really all of my clients is I went and purchased a big box full of these little, they're little notebooks with a pen, and it's got my information on the front of it. And I give it to all of my clients, say, hey, here's a book to take notes as we look at houses or anything that you need to jot down through the process. And everybody loves them. They use them. It's a great gift for them to not only take notes and all that and have reminders, but it also has your information on the front of it. So if they need to contact you or whatnot, there it is.
That's awesome. Thanks, John. I have a recent one. You just made me think of one, so I appreciate that. So last weekend, my wife and I went to Cedar Creek Lake, which is kind of near Kemp and Maybank, Gun Barrel City area. And we went to a restaurant that overlooked the lake, and it was in and of itself was a great experience. And we're about to order a drink, and we like craft beer, and so there was a local brewery on the menu, and so the server came up, and I said we'd like to have 2 of these from the local brewery, and so she said, okay, great. She left. She came back, and in her hand was kind of a rocks glass with what was a sample of a beer. And so she didn't bring the beer that we ordered. And so she said, I apologize, we're actually out of that beer that you wanted, but I found something that I think you might like. It's by the same brewery, and it's very similar. And why don't you have a taste of this and tell me what you think. And so I almost didn't have to taste it, because just by her doing that, it turned out that we did like it, and so we ordered it anyway. But I would have ordered it anyway, and I took that opportunity to tell her that too. I said, no other server would have done that. I said, what would have happened is you would have come back and you would have said we're out of it, and that was it. And then I would have had to pick up the menu and make a split-second decision on something else while you're still standing there. And you didn't do that. You solved my problem, which I thought was an awesome customer experience. And so that was a recent one I wanted to mention. So anyway, anybody else have any other input? No? All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Again, I think it's all about solving people's problems and just making your clients feel good about the experience. So hope you found this useful today, and we will meet you back here same time next Thursday. You guys have a great rest of the week.